The surprise I'll never forget. After 7 hours in a rainstorm, I stepped into my mother-in-law's living room holding a cake, just in time to hear her wish I'd crashed. I don't know what possessed me to do it. Maybe it was the look on Daniel's face last week when I told him I couldn't be there for his birthday. Maybe it was the way he smiled and said, "It's okay, babe," but his eyes looked a little disappointed. Or maybe I just missed my husband. 7 years married. 3 years trying for a baby. One very difficult patch last fall that we worked through. And now I was trying. Really trying. So I did the dumb, rom-com thing. I canceled my meetings. Booked a dog sitter. Packed a weekend bag. Ordered his favorite cake from Cake and Crumb, that tiny boutique bakery in downtown Providence. And at 5:45 a.m. sharp, I got in the car and drove 7 straight hours through a pounding New England rainstorm, the kind where the sky feels like it's falling and your wipers can't keep up. He was staying with his mom, Carol, for a few days while she recovered from knee surgery. Said it was a good chance to catch up with her. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. I figured it'd be cute. I'd ring the doorbell with a goofy "Tada." He'd light up. I'd hand him the cake, and we'd spend the weekend wrapped up in blankets and old movies and candlelight and maybe, finally, feeling like ourselves again. That's what I thought. Instead, I got silence. When I pulled into Carol's driveway, the rain was still coming down in sheets. The windshield wipers were struggling. My knuckles were stiff from gripping the wheel. I hadn't eaten all day, but I didn't care. I was buzzing. The cake box was carefully seat-belted in the passenger's side. A simple white cake with chocolate ganache layers and "Happy Birthday, Love" piped in navy frosting. I even brought those ridiculous gold candles that never blow out on the first try. I imagined him laughing as I lit them. I got out of the car, ran through the rain, the bottom of my jeans already soaked. My boots squeaked on the wet porchwood. I knocked once. Then again. No answer. But the door was unlocked. I hesitated, cake balanced in one hand, bag on my shoulder. I figured maybe he was in the kitchen or basement, helping Carol. So I pushed the door open. "Hello," I called. "Daniel." I stepped inside. It was warm. The heater humming. I heard clinking dishes, soft music. Voices. From the dining room. I smiled. Perfect. And then I heard Carol say, "Well, maybe she will crash. Lord knows you'd be set for life with that insurance policy." And Daniel, my husband, laughed. Not a nervous chuckle. A real, belly laugh. Like they were talking about the weather. I froze in the foyer. The cake in my hands suddenly felt like a brick. My fingers went numb, and not from the cold. Carol laughed again, the kind of wine-warm chuckle only a mother can give when she thinks she's being cheeky. I'm kidding, obviously. But honestly, I don't know how you do it. She's so much. Always checking in. Always trying. It's exhausting just hearing about her. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. "And Daniel?" He replied, casually. "Yeah, well, that's Jules. Queen of effort. Bless her heart. Queen of effort." I felt my stomach twist. Like someone had reached inside and pulled something loose. I backed up slowly. Quietly. My boots squeaking softly on the mat. My mind racing. My chest burning. They didn't know I was there. They didn't know I was standing in the entryway, after driving 7 hours through a relentless downpour, holding a birthday cake like an idiot. They didn't know I had just heard them speak about me like I was a burden. A punchline. An inconvenience. I walked back outside. The rain hit my face like slaps. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stood on the porch, watching the cake box in my hands. Then I turned, walked down the steps, opened the trash bin, and gently, carefully placed the cake inside, candles and all. I got in my car, sat behind the wheel, stared straight ahead. My phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Hey babe, hope your meeting went well. Can't wait to catch up tomorrow. Love you. Love you." I turned the phone over. Didn't reply. And then I put the car in reverse, pulled out of the driveway, and drove away, windshield wipers swiping away the storm I should have seen coming. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't explain. I just disappeared. Let them feel the silence. I kept driving. No music. No GPS. Just the sound of the rain pounding the windshield and the quiet hum of my tires on slick pavement. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay. Not at Carol's. Not in that town. Not in that story. Somewhere between mile 30 and mile 47, I realized I wasn't even heartbroken. I was just numb, hollow, like someone had scooped me out from the inside and left just enough shell to keep moving forward. I called Marina, my best friend since college, who lived 2 hours south in Ridgeport. I hadn't spoken to her in weeks. "Hey," I said. She heard it in my voice before I even said anything else. "Where are you?" "Driving." "What happened? Can I stay with you for a couple nights?" She didn't ask questions. Just said, "Doors unlocked. Blankets on the couch. Tea or wine?" "Both." I arrived just past 9 p.m., soaked and exhausted. She opened the door, took one look at me, and pulled me into a hug. "Okay. Who do I need to murder?" I laughed, a short, sharp sound that surprised me. Then I said, "Daniel." And his mother. I didn't give her the full story that night. Just the headlines. Surprise trip. Birthday cake. 7-hour drive. Eavesdropped conversation. The words still burned. Well, maybe she will crash, queen of effort. I can still hear them, not in my ears, but in my chest. Meanwhile, Daniel was blowing up my phone. By midnight, I had 7 missed calls, 12 texts, 1 voicemail that began, "Hey babe, where are you? Everything okay?" and ended with, "I'm starting to worry. Call me, okay?" I turned my phone off. Not to punish him. To protect me. The next morning, I finally explained everything to Marina. She didn't interrupt once. Just listened, eyes wide, hands gripping her coffee mug like it might snap. When I finished, she said, "You didn't tell him you heard it?" I shook my head. "Nope." I just walked out, left the cake in the trash, and drove away. Good. Good. Yes, good. Because if you confronted him, he would have found a way to make you feel bad. Or tell you it was a joke. Or say you were being sensitive. But this is power. She was right. By day 2, Daniel's messages had changed tone. The confusion was fading. The fear was creeping in. "Jules, where are you? Please, just talk to me. Did I do something wrong? I need to know you're safe." I read every word. Didn't reply. On day 3, Carol texted. First time in years she'd ever messaged me directly. "Hi, Julia. I'm not sure what's going on, but Daniel is worried sick. I know we've had our differences, but please reach out to him. This isn't like you." I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then typed, "I heard everything." Sent it. No follow-up. Just silence. 10 minutes later, Daniel called again. This time, I answered. Not because I was ready to talk, but because I wanted to hear his voice and see if it cracked the way mine had. "Jules. Oh my God. Where are you? I've been going crazy." I didn't let him finish. "Do you remember what your mother said the night I arrived?" Silence. About me crashing? More silence. About how I'm too much. How I'm exhausting. How you laughed when she said you'd be set for life if I died. He exhaled. Long, slow. Like air escaping a balloon. Then, "You weren't supposed to hear that." There it was. Not I didn't mean it. Not that's not true. Just, "You weren't supposed to hear that." I hung up. Blocked the number. Turned my phone off again. Because that was all I needed to know. Marina brought me soup that night. We watched 3 episodes of a reality show about cake decorating and didn't say much. Around midnight, I told her, "I think I'm done." She didn't ask, "With what?" She just nodded. Because she knew. The next morning, I opened my laptop and started making a list. Not a to-do list. A reclaiming list. New checking account, change all passwords, pause joint credit card, cancel upcoming couples therapy, text landlord about lease, order new phone line, retrieve spare keys from Daniel's drawer, take back my name. I wasn't running. I was removing myself. Because somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that effort would fix everything. That if I just kept loving hard enough, giving generously enough, forgiving often enough, it would all balance out. But it never did. Because they weren't counting the effort. They were mocking it. I wasn't ghosting him to punish him. I was ghosting him to protect me from the version of me that would have stayed. I always thought ghosting was petty, immature, avoidant, something people did when they didn't have the guts to face the hard stuff. But now I understood the silence wasn't avoidance. It was self-defense. Because the truth is, If I had stayed 1 second longer in that house, if I had walked into that dining room, holding a rain-soaked cake box, and asked, "What did you just say about me?" I would have listened to their excuses. I would have second-guessed myself. I would have cried. I would have tried to make them feel better about how they made me feel. And then I would have stayed. Again. So no, I didn't ghost Daniel out of cruelty. I ghosted him because for the first time in a long time, I realized I deserved to hear myself think. Marina's couch became my safe haven. She kept the fridge stocked with wine and leftovers, lit candles without asking, put fuzzy socks on my side of the bed, and, most importantly, never once said, "What are you going to do?" Because she knew I didn't have the answer yet. And instead of pushing for one, she gave me the space to breathe. On day 5, I took my wedding ring off. Not ceremoniously, not dramatically, just quietly. I slipped it into a jewelry box she kept on her dresser and shut the lid. The sound felt louder than it should have. Final, but freeing. By day 6, I had started journaling again. Not some guided gratitude thing, no offense to those, but the kind of writing where you purge everything until your hand cramps. I wrote about the look on Daniel's face the first time we met, how he used to rub circles on my back when I was anxious, how his laugh used to be my favorite sound in the world. I wrote about the little betrayals that came before the rainstorm, like how he stopped noticing when I got my hair done, how he didn't text "good luck" before important meetings anymore, how he sighed every time I suggested couples therapy, how his mother rolled her eyes every time I spoke, and he never once stopped her. That night, I searched our shared email and found 5 receipts Daniel had hidden from me. 3 were from a luxury cigar bar in Boston, 1 from a jewelry store I didn't recognize, and this one made my stomach turn, from a hotel in Cambridge, dated 3 weeks ago. He'd said he was at a conference. The charge said 2 guests. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't hurt, but because I was already gone. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. What broke me wasn't the hotel receipt. It was the cake. Because I had been holding that box like it was the last gift I had to offer. And all he saw was a burden. I printed every receipt, put them in a neat little folder labeled "Evidence, not that I owe you any," and slid it into my overnight bag. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet, but I knew one thing. I was done cleaning up emotional messes I didn't make. By day 7, Daniel had started posting publicly. On Facebook, "Has anyone seen my wife? If you're reading this, Jules, just let me know you're okay. I love you." On Instagram stories, a blurry photo of our wedding cake. The caption, "Wish I could go back." I almost laughed. He didn't tag me in either post, because that would have required real accountability. And Daniel? He was performing grief, but not feeling it. Carol, meanwhile, sent a final text. I said something terrible. I don't know how to take it back. I was trying to be funny, but it was disgusting. I'm so sorry, Julia. Please give me the chance to apologize in person. I read it twice. And I believed her, weirdly. But it didn't matter. Because an apology doesn't glue a shattered plate back together. It just acknowledges that someone dropped it. On day 8, I filed for a temporary legal separation. Didn't tell Daniel. Didn't need to. My lawyer, the one Marina helped me find, said I had every right to pursue next steps without contact, especially if emotional manipulation was involved. I signed the papers. I also transferred half of our joint account into a private one in my name, the same amount I had personally contributed over the last 18 months. It wasn't revenge. It was math. And then I sent Daniel one email. Short. Simple. Subject: I heard everything you laughed. You let her mock me. You said nothing. This isn't about a cake. This is about the kind of man you chose to become. You don't need to respond. I won't be reading it. No signature. No goodbye. No softness. Because I'd already given every soft part of me, and they'd wrung it dry. He kept talking into a silence that no longer owed him answers. And I was busy building a life that no longer included him. Daniel didn't implode immediately. He didn't rage text. Didn't threaten. Didn't chase. He just stalled. For the first time since I met him, he had nothing to say that could make it better. And without someone to over-explain to, without me as his audience, his translator, his emotional janitor, he looked small. And suddenly, I realized, maybe he always was. I saw his post 2 days after I sent the email. It was a close-up photo of the empty spot on our bookshelf where my wedding photo had sat. Caption: "You'll always have a place here." Marina nearly gagged when I showed her. That man is performing sadness like he's auditioning for a role on The Bachelor. She wasn't wrong, because behind the scenes, Daniel was still trying to spin it. I started getting vague messages from mutual friends. "Hey, Daniel said you two are taking some time apart? Hope you're okay. He's really torn up about everything. Maybe just give him a chance to explain." He didn't say much, but I got the sense something got misunderstood. Misunderstood? What exactly did I misunderstand? The part where his mother said she wished I crashed? The part where he laughed? Or the part where I found hotel receipts in a city he claimed he never stayed in? I didn't respond to any of it. Not out of pride. Out of peace. Because silence had stopped feeling like punishment. It had become my freedom. Daniel, though? He was unraveling. I knew it the second he broke the fourth wall of his curated online grief. It started with a tweet. "We all say things we don't mean. Doesn't mean we deserve to be abandoned." Then an Instagram story, just white text on black background. Funny how some people throw away years over a joke. And finally, the ultimate grasp for sympathy. A photo of him sitting on the front porch with our dog, captioned, "He keeps waiting for her. So do I. Except that dog was mine. And I had taken him with me." I could have clapped back. Posted receipts. Screenshots. The whole story. I didn't. Not because I wasn't tempted, but because that's what he wanted. He wanted the performance. He wanted the fight. He wanted access. And I had taken the one thing he couldn't spin, edit, or rewrite: my absence. Carol, meanwhile, went quiet too. Radio silent. No texts. No follow-ups. No, please hear me out. I think, deep down, she knew the damage wasn't reversible. Because even if I had believed her apology, it didn't undo the years she spent chipping away at me with eye rolls, backhanded compliments, and whispered comments Daniel pretended not to hear. The cake comment wasn't a one-time thing. It was just the first time she said it loud enough for me to catch it. One night, Marina and I were watching an old rom-com when she turned to me and asked, "Would you ever go back?" I didn't even hesitate. No, and I meant it. Because even if Daniel showed up at my door with flowers, a handwritten letter, and a viral apology video, it wouldn't matter. Because what I finally understood was this: you don't need to hate someone to leave them. You just have to love yourself enough not to stay. By week 3, my lawyer had filed the formal documents to begin financial separation. We had no kids, no property, no shared business. Clean break. Still, Daniel tried calling from a blocked number the night the papers hit his inbox. I didn't pick up, but the next morning I got a voicemail. His voice, hoarse, wrecked, said, "I know I don't deserve a response. I just want you to know that I miss you. I'd take it all back if I could. Even the stupid joke. Especially the laugh. I never thought I'd lose you like this." He paused. Then, softer, "I keep waking up and hoping you'll come back. Even if it's just to yell." I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because for the first time in a long time, the pain wasn't mine to carry. It belonged to him now. I started volunteering at a local women's center in Ridgeport. Just one afternoon a week at first. Then more. Helping women file restraining orders, open bank accounts, review leases. One woman, Maya, hugged me after I helped her transfer her phone plan. She said, "You probably saved my life." And I thought, maybe walking away from Daniel saved mine too. I wasn't just healing. I was building. A life. A space. A self. He knocked on the door like it was still his. But the woman who answered wasn't the one he thought he left behind. It was a Friday. I remember that because I'd just finished helping Maya, the woman from the women's center, write a resignation letter to leave her toxic job. She called me her exit coach and said, "You should do this full time." I laughed, but only a little, because part of me wondered if she was right. That night, Marina and I were halfway through a cheap wine and pasta combo when someone knocked on the front door. 3 slow, heavy knocks. Not pizza. Not a neighbor. Not Amazon. I felt it before I even moved. "It's him," I said. Marina looked up from her bowl. "You sure?" I nodded. Because when someone has occupied that much of your nervous system, you don't need a peephole. Your body already knows. I opened the door. Daniel stood there in jeans, a hoodie that hung off his shoulders like he hadn't eaten in days, and eyes I barely recognized. Bloodshot. Watery. Desperate. "Hey," he said, voice breaking. "Hi. Can we talk?" I didn't move. Just stared. "Jules, please." Still, I didn't say anything. Because what do you say to a man who let his mother joke about your death and laughed? Marina came to the door behind me. "You've got 5 minutes," she said, arms crossed. "We don't do prolonged suffering around here." I almost smiled. Daniel blinked. Swallowed. He looked like he'd rehearsed something, but all of it fell apart at the threshold. I messed up. I didn't respond. It wasn't just what I said, or what I didn't say. It was years of taking you for granted. Years of letting my mom talk to you like that and pretending I didn't hear it. You didn't pretend. You enjoyed it. That was the first thing I'd said. And it felt easy. He blinked again. "You're right." I crossed my arms. "What do you want, Daniel?" He hesitated. Then he pulled something out of his pocket. It was a folded piece of paper. Shaky handwriting. 2 pages. "I wrote you a letter. Because I knew if I tried to say all this, I'd screw it up. You don't have to read it now. Or ever. I needed to give you something real." He extended it toward me. I didn't take it. "You know," I said, "there was a version of me that would have forgiven you." His eyes lit up slightly too fast. I held up a hand. "Was that version of me? She would have listened to your apology. She would have let you cry. She would have looked at that stupid letter and felt guilty for walking away. And then she would have come home, made dinner, tried again. But she's gone." He looked like someone had punched him in the throat. And I didn't flinch. "I loved you," I said. "God, I loved you. But you didn't love me, not in the way I needed. You loved the version of me who kept showing up, kept overextending, kept shrinking so you could feel bigger. And the worst part? I stepped closer. You mocked her. Behind her back. To your mother. And then you tried to pretend the cake was the only thing you ruined." He broke. Right there on Marina's porch. His shoulders heaved. He wiped his eyes with the sleeve of his hoodie and whispered, "I don't know how to live without you." I stared at him. "You were already doing it." He handed me the letter again. This time, I took it. Not because I wanted to read it. Because I wanted to be the one who decided if I read it. "Don't come back here," I said. "If I need anything, I'll reach out through my lawyer." He opened his mouth. I shut the door. Back inside, Marina was already opening a bottle of red. "How was that?" I tossed the letter onto the table like it was a bill. Quieter than I expected. "You okay?" I thought for a moment, then nodded. "I think I am." I didn't read the letter that night. Or the next. I kept it folded in the drawer by my bed for a week. Then, on a rainy Thursday, I unfolded it. 2 pages of regret. Some honest. Some delusional. One line stood out. "I thought if I kept you small, you'd never leave." And there it was. The truth, scrawled in his own hand. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a prop. I wasn't waiting for someone to rescue me. I was waiting for the courage to stop rescuing everyone else. It's strange how silence can be both your undoing and your salvation. For so many years, I had swallowed my voice in that marriage, in that house, with that man and his mother, and the fragile egos I patted with every smile, every compromise, every "it's okay." But now I sit in silence and I breathe. Not because I've run out of things to say, but because I no longer feel the need to explain who I am. It's been 3 months. 3 since I drove 7 hours through a rainstorm holding a cake that would end up in the trash. 3 since I heard the kind of laugh that echoes long after it stops. 3 since I vanished. And I don't regret any of it. I moved out of Marina's place a few weeks ago. Not because I was unwelcomed, she made that clear, but because I felt ready to take up space again. I found a 1-bedroom loft above a bookstore in Ridgeport. It's got creaky floors, a weird hallway light that flickers when it rains, and a window that overlooks a park filled with toddlers, dog walkers, and old men who argue about baseball like it's theology. It's perfect. It's mine. I put the framed wedding photo back in its box. Not with bitterness. Not with tears. Just with clarity. Because that girl, the one in the white dress, smiling like she's already forgiven things that haven't happened yet, she deserves peace. And I'm finally giving it to her. I still volunteer at the Women's Center. 3 days a week now. Maya and I became friends. She started calling me Coach J. Another woman, Clarissa, brought me flowers last week after her divorce finalized. She said, "I don't know how you knew what to say every time, but I felt less alone because of you." That made me cry, more than Daniel's letter ever did. Because when you've spent years being talked over, talked down to, or just not heard, having someone look you in the eye and say, "You made me feel stronger," hits different. As for Daniel, I haven't seen him since the day he stood on that porch. No follow-ups, no late-night calls. Just one final message through my lawyer. Tell her I hope she finds the happiness I couldn't give her. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't dishonest. It was, in its own way, closure. I kept the letter he wrote me, not out of sentiment, but because it reminds me who I used to be. A woman so used to being reduced, she started folding herself just to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. Not anymore. Sometimes, I still replay that moment in my head, the door opening, the sound of Carol's voice saying she hoped I crashed. But I no longer feel rage. I feel affirmation. Because if someone jokes about your death while you're carrying cake to their table, you were never meant to sit there in the first place. I got a new mug last week from the bookstore downstairs. It says, "Let them wonder where you went." I drink my tea from it every morning. And every time I do, I smile. Because I know. I didn't disappear. I arrived. Julia didn't burn the bridge. She just chose not to cross it anymore. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She didn't fight to be heard by people who weren't listening. She simply walked away, and in doing so, heard herself clearly for the first time in years. If this story touched you, share it with someone who remembers those days too.